everybody, Noelle LaCharite here, and I want to share with you one of the techniques I use to help executives all around the world understand a little bit more about artificial intelligence, and hopefully it'll help you too. I have had the wonderful kind of honor, blessing to be able to go and travel. Some of you have seen my travels, and talk to executives as they begin to think about how artificial intelligence will impact their business, how they can use artificial intelligence to better not only the lives of their employees and how their business functions, but also, of course, the lives of their customers and how they can serve the world. And so this is just one way. This is actually part of a full day workshop we do at the AI Leadership Institute. But I'm going to show you just a tiny little bit so you can get an understanding of kind of how we set things up. So the first thing we do is we talk about the idea of AI. And it tends to be pretty broad, right? So I'll start with a little charades. Right? You might think of this as like a cupcake, maybe? No, actually it is an umbrella. And this is the concept of AI, of artificial intelligence, right? Now, I typically speak as an ambassador of Microsoft technology. I typically teach and talk about Microsoft, but what I'm about to share with you is actually across the board, right? What you can use it across cloud providers, across AI solution providers. And AI, as you probably know, or maybe you don't, it's actually not something you can buy. You can't download it, you can't put it in your pocket, right? It is an idea, and this idea has been, it's not a new idea, right? It may seem new that we seem to be talking about it all the time. Certainly 5 years ago, I was not ever thinking that I would do a workshop on artificial intelligence for the masses that is extremely popular today. But AI has become a pretty broad umbrella-like term. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I focus that term in order to make it a little bit more accessible and understandable to executives that are trying to make decisions about this technology. Now, I typically break it up into 3 different pieces. However, they're in no particular order, and every cloud provider will offer different stuff in each one of these buckets. So the first side I call applied. Applied AI, another term is pre-built, which means companies like Microsoft, like Google, like Amazon have teams of very well educated, very, very deep knowledge of machine learning, algorithm development, data cleaning, data management. They've done this for a while. Some of the teams, for example, at Microsoft have been building and working on their algorithms for decades, right? So this is not a new thing. However, what is new is a few years ago, it became very interesting for companies to think about, how do we take this wonderful AI work that we've done and make it accessible to everyone? And Microsoft actually did this very nicely. They created an entire collection of these models, and they called them cognitive services. And those cognitive services were basically hard-earned, right? Very, very, hard, a long time, a lot of resources, a lot of people, a lot of lives were invested in the building of these models. And then Microsoft decided to make them available as web services, so any developer, regardless of their machine learning expertise, could actually take advantage of them. So applied AI represents those models. We'll say, let's say we're talking about Microsoft as a platform, that Microsoft, MSFT for short, right, will have built, right, trained, and deployed those models and made them available for people like us to use. They will also, in that training, right, have to have done all the work to collect, clean, and utilize that data. You know, there's a saying, I actually think I first heard it at Amazon, that there's no compression algorithm for experience, and that is specifically true in AI. You cannot build right? Like you can't just build a model faster and it'll be better. Anyone who has 10 years in building a facial recognition model is going to be significantly better at it than someone who just started. And so this is an opportunity, applied AI is our opportunity to really build on the shoulders of giants, right? Take the Googles, the AWSs, and the Microsofts of the world and the IBMs, right? Every company who's building a machine learning model, and rather than us as individual companies investing our own team, which we would never really do, it's not a core competency, for a financial company or for a retail company to build their own in-house, 2,000 person machine learning team. So wouldn't it make sense to at least consider and think about starting with models that are provided by these organizations in the form of applied AI, right? So applied AI are pre-built models exposed as APIs and web services, meaning any developer who knows how to write code and access a web service now has the ability to utilize these models. There are 30 plus models available in the world today, probably more than that, but at least that I know, and I'm going to share some of those with you in a following video. So the next piece though is, so this is going to help you. Let's say you have a business problem. You want to make the world easier for your customers by allowing them to just talk to your application instead of type, or allow them to type instead of use commands or menus or drop-down lists, right? So what if we wanted to add a natural interface? We can go and leverage an applied AI model to do that. But sometimes we want to do very special things, very special tasks. And if we want to do very special tasks, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to build our own model, right? Because these models are finite. They have a certain amount of flexibility and capability, but that capability is finite, like it's well-defined. But unfortunately, anything outside of that, right, we just have to wait for the API to evolve. But that's not necessarily true. In AI, I could go and do what's called custom, right? I could basically build my own models. And as I build my own machine learning models, I now get to do all that fun work of collecting all the data. So the good news is the models will be mine, right? They'll be, or yours if you're building it, right? You'll own the model. You'll even own the data, which is huge, right? So you get to own everything. You get full control. The challenge, as I mentioned with the compression of experience, the challenge with this is that you're going to have to do the work, and that work takes time. So you either can super fast use an existing model, but there's limitations to it, or get full control and build your own model, but it takes a long time. So one thing that I learned from Microsoft that other organizations like Amazon and Google and IBM have done as well is, what could we do maybe to allow you as a customer, you as a business, to leverage these applied AI models and build on top of them, a meet in the middle, so to speak, right? What if I could take a Microsoft model and combine it with my hard-earned data and create something new, right? What if I could create magic that way? I have found that this is exactly what happens, that this is where the magic is if I could start with a speech recognition model. If I could not start from scratch in building a natural language engine, I could start where Microsoft left off and just train it on the delta, on the difference between what Microsoft knew about my customers and the data that I have, and now that becomes a new model. That's very interesting to me because I now don't have to absorb the cost of building that model from scratch. I can leverage the work that's been done by other companies. And so we call this customizable AI. That's not a product or coined phrase in any way, but it's a way to think about it, right? Where can I take an existing model that has been built by a large organization with lots of ML resources and then use my ML resources to augment or build on top of it? Models that can be often augmented are things like what we call speech, like text to speech, speech to text, things that we use virtual assistants for, like Alexa. Language, which is the NLU. This could also be used not just for speech, but also for chatbots that maybe support speech and text. Also, and maybe most of you, if you're familiar with AI, would know this one, vision, computer vision, the ability for computers to detect what's on a page. And I'll, again, do a deep dive with you on one of these computer vision examples in another video. So there are some models that wouldn't it make sense for me not to build a natural language engine from scratch, but instead just teach it the nuances of my company lingo, my company name even, right? There are certain companies on the stock exchange that even people don't know how to pronounce, right? How am I going to even know how to get that pronunciation customized into my speech model? These are the things that we can do with an extended model like this. Now, I get two questions often when we get to this middle happy ground of customizing our existing models. One is who owns the model. And again, Microsoft has a really great solution here where they've created an industry standard platform technology called ONNX. I won't dive into the details, but this is a wonderful mechanism that allows us to decouple inference from training and give us portability of our models. Hugely important, especially as you go from the leaders to the business leaders to the technical leaders to those actually building the models themselves. This will be something they definitely want to look into. The other thing that often people will ask me about is, well, what if I'm not ready to use the cloud for my models, for my, for whatever analysis that I want to do? What if, for example, I'm in space, like NASA or JPL? What if I can't hit the cloud for every, every processing activity that I want to do? Or maybe I'm in the ocean and internet connectivity could be sparse. Or maybe I just want to own it and I want it in my own data center and I want to control what access to the cloud my infrastructure has. All of those are accommodated by the ability for these models, these customized models, to get deployed into what we call containers. Kubernetes might be a term that some of you are familiar with if you're in the technical space. But this gives you freedom to deploy your AI models anywhere that you want, in any capacity that you want. There are some, nuances to that, of course, and so I'll encourage you to dive deeper. We're gonna have some other videos on this on the channel as well. But this is a great way to think about AI, right? So artificial intelligence is not a thing, it's a bunch of things, right? But it starts off by first understanding the different capabilities of the machine learning models that you're talking about. One, investigate all of the pre-built models that are available. And investigate, if they're available as a web service, you can combine them. You could use a Microsoft plus an AWS plus a Google to get your job done, right? So look at them all. Find out all the pre-built models that are available and identify if your use case, right, can be helped by those models. And in most cases, it can. Then, if it can't, consider building it all yourself. Don't actually build it. What I would encourage you to do is think through what that would take, what resources, what data you would need, and then figure out, is there a model that could meet me in the middle? Is there a model I could start with as kind of a Kickstarter and build on top of that would save me time? These are the ways to think about AI to save your company time, resources, energy, and then of course, it's really important to get your company educated on AI. And that's what we do here at the AI Leadership Institute. It has been my pleasure to share with you just this cool little tip and snippet of information that I share with the executives I talk to. Hopefully it was helpful to you, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. Take care.